Okay, next dinam over here in Kitzer is a dinam what's called preparing oneself for davening. Okay, there's a pasuk that says, "He can lekrasa lekacha Yisrael." You have to prepare yourself to meet Hashem. That's what the pasuk says. Yisrael, you need to greet yourself to meet Hashem. So what does it mean? That when you go to daven, it's like you're going to meet the king. Therefore, it says in halacha, when you daven, even if you're home, it doesn't matter, you come to shul or at home, you should be dressed appropriately, like you're good going to meet an officer or a king. You shouldn't be dressed whatever. And it says even if you daven at home by yourself, it's still daven. I'm not talking in case when the person, God forbid, is sick in the hospital or at home, they're very sick, so then they could daven in their pajamas. But I'm saying, generally speaking, some person shouldn't be davening in their pajamas or things like that. The garments that are disrespectful when you talk or meet to a king. Next thing is like this. It's good to give tzedakah before davening. This is a Gemara in Bar Basra. The Gemara says, Rabbi Yosef Yar Pruta Lani Vaad Matzla. Rabbi Yosef, before he davened, would give a pruta tzedakah for a poor man, and then he would daven. And he quoted a pasuk, Ani b'tzedek echsa panecha, where he interpreted, I with tzedakah will see your face. The simple logic behind that din is it's a very logical din. Because davening, as we say in Slichas, the expression, L'cha Hashem tzedakah. We're basically, when we daven to Hashem, we're asking for tzedakah. The Gemara says there's a pasuk, Abir Alev, the strong-hearted ones, and the Gemara interprets it to mean, are rechekim tzedakah, or far from tzedakah. The Gemara says that refers to tzaddikim, who do everything Hashem wants them to do. So therefore, it's like a worker. The worker works well, does everything he needs to do, and then he comes to the boss and says, do me a favor, give me the check. So tzaddikim who behave, if afterwards they have a right to come to daven and ask for seichel and refu and all the brachos of Shemon Esrei. Most other people are what's called the rechekim tzedakah. They're far from tzedakah, meaning what are they? They don't have a right to demand from Hashem, give me A, B, C, D, because Hashem says, who are you? I tell you to do A, B, C, D, and you don't listen. So why should I do you A, B, C, D? So what's the whole concept of davening? As we say in Slichas, L'cha Hashem tzedakah. We come to Hashem, say, yes, Hashem, really, I don't deserve it, but I'm asking you to give me tzedakah. And that's what tzedakah means. The person didn't work for you. You give him tzedakah. We're asking Hashem to give us tzedakah. So therefore, if the whole concept of davening is asking Hashem for tzedakah, basically, so then the right thing to do is before you daven, you should do an act of tzedakah. Because when Hashem mida keneged mida, deed for deed. When Hashem sees before davening we're giving tzedakah, so then Hashem will say, okay, you're giving tzedakah, so I'll give you tzedakah. But if we're not giving tzedakah before davening, Hashem says, like, why should I? I mean, Hashem does it anyway. He's a very nice Hashem. I don't know if he's a nice guy because he's not a guy. But now some people have a minig, interesting, in middle of Vayivarach David, by L'cha Hashem tzedakah over there, they give also tzedakah. So the Rebbe writes in a letter, somebody asked the Rebbe about it, and the Rebbe said, it's not Chabad minig. If you want to do it, fine, nothing wrong giving tzedakah, but it doesn't take away from giving tzedakah before davening, because that's a din Shulchan Aruch, that's a Gemara. So therefore, even if you want to give, let's say by middle of Vayivarach Daven, like a lot of Sephardic people do, you should still give tzedakah before davening, because again, that's Shulchan Aruch, that's the Gemara, and it's logic that that's the time you're supposed to give tzedakah. So the proper time to give tzedakah is before davening. Also, the Arizal, this one the Arizal, but it's brought down in Shulchan Aruch, the Arizal writes that it's appropriate to say before davening, Hareini mekabel alai mitzvah saseh shel v'yahavta l'recha kamecha. That I accept before davening, we say that I accept to keep the mitzvah of v'yahavta l'recha kamecha. Why is that? Because when there's fighting amongst Jews down here, so then Hashem can't give a bracha. Hashem doesn't have, then gam l'mayla, there's no isachtus, so to speak. And that's why we say, one second, in the Shemon Esrei we say, but in Sim Shalom we say, Barcheinu Avinu Kolonu Ka'echad. Simply it means, Hashem blesses says one. In Tanya, the Alter Rebbe says, in Perek Lamed Beis, the Alter Rebbe says, what the tefillah really means is, Barcheinu Avinu, when is it possible that Hashem blesses us? When kulanu ke'echad, when we're all one. So therefore, before davening, it's not enough to say it. You should really mean it also. That you're accepting before yourself. You say right before Matayvo, it's in the Sidurim. Nachon leim akedim matfil. It's appropriate to say before davening. Arein mekabel olayim mitzvah saseshal v'after. Yes, sir. With tzedakah, you mean? So therefore it says in Halacha, and the Rebbe mentioned this many times to people, they should give twice, double tzedakah on Friday for Shabbos. That's one thing. But the Rebbe also spoke, and this is again Halacha, you can give financial tzedakah on Shabbos. But there's tzedakah begufei, b'mamaynei, and b'nishmasei. There's three types of tzedakah. You can give tzedakah with your body, meaning you do somebody a favor, that's also tzedakah. Right? That's also the mitzvah of tzedakah. You're not giving him money, but you're doing him a favor, so that's tzedakah. Ya b'nishmasei, bringing him closer to Yiddishkeit. Right? That's tzedakah b'nishmasei. So tzedakah b'mamaynei, monetary tzedakah you can't give on Shabbos, but you can give on Friday double, to make it up for Shabbos. But the other tzedakahs are possible to do on Shabbos, by the way. What?
Nowadays that they have automated charges for credit cards. How does that fit into tzedakah before davening, stuff on Shabbos? I just pledged somewhere, let's say $18 for 40 days, and it's just going every day.
So they have what's called, what the Rebbe makes the magvis, Sevi Simchas Torah, for that the tzedakah for the whole year, but then over there people actually give tzedakah. They actually give tzedakah every day for all those people that participated. But it's also, even when you give tzedakah, let's say you pledge $18 over whatever, you should still give whatever, every day before. Ideally, it's brought down in halacha, you're supposed to give shachris, tzedakah be shachris and mincha. Before Ma'ariv, even Kitzur brings down later, no, he doesn't bring down, the guy at the bottom brings down, that tzedakah you don't give at night, that is all right, you don't give tzedakah at night, and it's very simple, because as Yerushalmi he quotes, but L'Pearl, that's if, number one, if somebody doesn't ask you. If somebody asks you for tzedakah at night, you have an obligation to give him. It's time to give tzedakah at night, that is all right, so you don't do it. The Rebbe told over a story, a personal story with himself many times. The Rebbe told a story that one time he gave tzedakah to a poor man at night. The guy didn't ask him, the Rebbe gave tzedakah at night. So the guy, this is before he became Rebbe. So somebody came to him, the Rebbe told us a story. Somebody came to me and he screamed at me, why are you giving tzedakah at night? In Kabbalah it says, you don't give tzedakah at night. So the Rebbe said it bothered me. I went into my father-in-law, the previous Rebbe, and I told him what happened. So the Rebbe quoted this, and I myself heard it from the Rebbe a few times. The Rebbe smiled, and he said that his father-in-law said to him, the guy that screamed at you probably doesn't give tzedakah during the day either. That's what the Rebbe answered him. That guy who screamed at you doesn't give tzedakah during the day either. Okay? The worst aveda anybody should do is give tzedakah at night. And when the Rebbe used to do magvis, when the Rebbe would do a magvis by the Fabrengen at night, a lot of the general Fabrengen, the Rebbe would make an appeal, and the Rebbe explained, what's the inyan of tzedakah at night? So the Rebbe writes, first of all, I'm holding the money until the day, so you're not giving it at night. You're just giving it to me to give out, but it's being given out during the day. And the Rebbe said many times, it's like, the worst thing that somebody should do.
Why does that concept exist?
Why does it exist?
Why doesn't it exist not to give at night?
Because night is Gvura and Yom is Chesed.
Okay, but at night and Gvura we study.
Yeah, but you don't study, so according to Kabbalah, you don't study Torah Shebeksav at night. Again, for the same reason. So Torah Shebeksav, you don't take Tillim at night until halachic midnight. You don't learn Torah Shebiksav without commentary. Like if you learn Chumash and Rashi, you can learn it at night. But just to learn Torah Shebiksav, one second. To learn Torah Shebiksav at night, without Apikaboli, you don't. And I promise you that if somebody would ask the Arizal, is it better to say Tillim at night or watch television? If that's the options, there is no question in my mind that if the Arizal would be here, he would say, you know what? Say Tillim at night. That should be the worst thing. It's like, then you don't learn during the day either, you know what I mean? That should be the worst Aveda we do. But Al Pi Kabbalah, you don't give tzedakah at night. But again, therefore, the proper time for tzedakah, by the way, it says in halacha, is before Shachris and Mincha. The Ivitz writes that, okay, whatever it is. But again, if somebody asks you for tzedakah at night, you have an obligation to give them. That's separate. It's just on your own, you don't give tzedakah at night.
I was saying, for someone that needs the feeling, you say Tillim at night.
Tillim? For sick people, you could say Tillim at night. B'chal people became very makel with this Tillim at night. You could go to a group, they'll say the Rebbe's Kapitel at night. I don't know. Well, parts of davening we say at night. I mean, Saturday night you say Vinoyam, which is Yeshu B'Seisa, which is a parak of Tillim. If it's Ta'chelik of davening, then it's not an issue. It's just Tillim is Tillim. Avram, what did you want?
I want to say tzedakah is Chesed and night is Pura.
No.
So I mean, it's my own. You wouldn't be mamtik the Geburas by giving tzedakah.
It says not. It says not.
You can't do like Chesed when it's dark. You can't.
It's not the inyan of it. In other words, it's not the inyan of tzedakah at night.
Contradiction.
No. What? The minhag is you don't give tzedakah at night, you give it in the morning or during the day. What's the big deal? But God, it says in halacha that before Shachris and Mincha, you're supposed to give tzedakah, not only before Shachris, before Mincha. So let's say somebody, for argument's sake, has only $1 to give, they should give 50 cents in the morning, 50 cents before Mincha, instead of giving $1 before Shachris. Because there's an inyan of giving tzedakah before Mincha also. And we saw that also by the Rebbe. When the Rebbe went out to daven, he was upstairs in 770. There was a pushka always outside the base medrash. The Rebbe Beis Shachris and Mincha, whenever he went in, put money into the pushka. It might if he didn't. I mean, again, that's what it says in Kabbalah, it says in Halacha, it says in... So it's not even a question. Huh? No. No. Just before davening. The Rebbe would give before davening and not after davening. But the Rebbe didn't give by Vayivarach David. That we saw clearly. If the Rebbe wanted to give tzedakah, they would have had a tzedakah pushka next and he would have put money in. But he didn't. No, the Rebbe wanted B'chlal at every possibility should be Torah, Tefillah, and tzedakah. So if you have an assembly and you're saying Tillim, which is Tefillah, then somebody says a Dvar Torah, which is Torah, and then people give tzedakah, so you have Torah, Tefillah, and tzedakah. That's what the Rebbe wanted. What?
If there's collectors who are collecting, but they're not coming up to you and actually asking for money, you don't have a reason to go to them.
You don't have an obligation to go to them, but the right thing to do is to go to them. The only obligation is if they ask you, then you have an obligation, you have to give them something. Now they come with the credit card machines. You don't even need cash.
If you don't have the piece of paper, you technically don't have to give them, right? That that little laminated...
Yeah, why? What's the difference?
Well, because you don't have to give to every, homeless guy that walks in.
Unless if you know they're going to be doing some, we're not learning Hilchos Tzedakah now. By the way, this is just a preparation. The Hilchos Tzedakah is a separate simon in Kitzur. Bottom line is, let me tell you something. If we're not picky who we give to, Hashem is not picky who we give to. who he gives to. It's a business investment. No, I'm not joking. It's a business investment. When Hashem sees, whoever asks me for tzedakah, I give. So then Hashem says, you always give. Anytime you ask me, I'll give. But if you're picky and choose who you give and who you don't give, so Hashem says, you know what, I'll also be choosy with you. When I'm in the mood, I'll give you. When I'm not in the mood, I won't give you. That's where Hashem works. Midah k'neged midah. Hashem reacts, especially according to the Mishnah, Hashem tzilch, all those inyan, that Hashem reacts based on what we do. Yeah.
This inyan of Davening.
About what? Yeah.
So what if you're being peaceful, but someone has wronged you? So he's created the vacuum where there's no shovel. That person caused it, and you're in no mood to go and make up that person because he's in a he's taking something from you, whatever it is. So
I'm going to paraphrase your question.
Is the person who has lost.
I'm going to paraphrase your question based on what we're explaining over here. Yes? Hashem, us. Who wronged whom? We wrong Hashem or Hashem wrongs us? I'm talking, listen to me, answer my question. I'm a Jew. You have to answer my question with a question. Hashem and us, the relationship. Do we wrong Hashem or does Hashem wrong us?
We wrong Hashem.
Okay. Yet, yes. So Hashem gives even to those who wronged him. Yes or no? Okay. So therefore, get the point? If we give even to somebody who wrongs us, then Hashem gives to us who wrongs Hashem. That's the way he works. What? It's all here.